Test 1, 2.
Yeah, there you go.
I actually heard it back this time.
Because you always do like a little...
No, Steven, it's not a bitch clap. Every time I clap fucking... Steven, every time I clap loud. Don't tell me that I use a little bitch clap to start the show, because I just started the show with a real clap. That's a real clap.
Because I asked you to clap louder.
Yeah, but
you did.
I always clap.
Boom.
I always clap loud. Everybody knows I'm a loud clapper. That's why I sit here and I'm like...
You do like to clap back at people, I will say.
What? Clap back? Is that an ass joke?
No, I mean, if someone says something on the internet, you like to post it all over the world.
I'm not talking about clapping back at internet assholes. I'm talking about actual physical. I
know what you're talking about, dude.
I cup my hands such a way that I am like a really good clapper. You don't think I'm a good clapper?
Hey, remember when we bought the actual slate to do a real clap every time we do a video and we never use them again?
Yeah, because why would we do that? I really
we bought
think
a really cheap one that broke, and then you bought like the most expensive one that we used like once.
It was like $80, but I got really tired. What, Todd or Dan or someone wanted us to use a slate?
Dan wanted us to use an actual proper slate for every video, which makes sense. And before, actually, we would use like an iPad slate back in the day with Todd, and then we just ended up doing the lazy way and just clapping, which is fine. It's good enough.
Which is the same thing that I watched newscasters do. When I've seen newscasters are like, all right, give us a clap.
How many Netflix documentaries do you see and they start off with like a clap?
Exactly.
And it's like kept in the interview.
Exactly, because...
It does the same thing, that's why.
The clipboard thing is so pretentious.
Now, unless you have one of the slates that have the digital time code and everything built in, like that's a different story because you're syncing everything up like that. But yeah, a standard clap slate, you don't need any more.
Yeah, well, I'm already pretentious enough. We don't need a... Speaking of pretentious, what were we talking about right before we started at my house?
Something for your Lambo or your Porsche in your garage. I forget what it was.
Yeah, no, we were talking that you were asking if the power is going to be interrupted here because I have an electrician over at the house right now, and they are putting in my Tesla charger in my garage.
Yes.
And I'll be able to charge my car when my garage door can open again after braking when it was 6 degrees out. So not only did I get a new car, the day before, but a couple days before I got the new car, the garage door broke.
Collection.
I have one car, Steven. One car.
Sure. Keep telling yourself that. No, I'm kidding. You have one car. So how long will it take to actually charge your Tesla once that whole power thing is built in to your garage?
Well, so I believe he's going to do the 60 amp version, and the 60 amp version, I believe, which is the fastest you can do the home charge
version.
Well, it's not the supercharger, which I'll tell you about in a second, but it's the one that you can get for home. It says you'll get 44 miles per hour of charge. So every hour you get another 44 miles. So you're getting a pretty good charge.
What's the max mileage your battery can hold?
Well, it can hold all up to 330, I believe, but that's if you put it to 100%. You only want to go to 100% if you're going to be going on a long trip. They tell you to keep it at about 90% if it's just for daily usage, because you want to leave space for the regenerative braking to add power back into the system. So that's one thing. And so I've been having to charge at a supercharger, but thankfully I got 10,000 free charging miles when I bought the car at the end of December. They were offering that. So I used 153 miles of those so far out of the 10,000. And it's roughly $12 to $14 was how much it cost me to go from 14% battery up to 90% battery. So obviously cheaper than filling, but it took about 30-ish minutes. So it actually charges faster when you get below 20%.
Interesting.
So when you get below 20% versus charging at 50%, it can do a much faster supercharge at a supercharger because it has more... It has less battery to contend with because it doesn't want to overpower anything. But when it's more dead, when your battery has less power, it can ramp that speed up much faster. And then when it gets to like 80%, then it trickles a little slower to the 90%, but it was like 30-ish minutes to get from 14% up to 90%. And keep in mind, you don't always have to go all the way up. If you just need 15 minutes of charge and that gives you another 100 plus miles, then you might as well, then that's fine. If you just need 100 more miles to get home or something.
Can you actually put a supercharger in your house?
That I don't know. I don't even know if you can purchase a supercharger. Those are just Tesla supercharger networks.
Okay.
That are like that. But I'll tell you something funny that happened. So I was almost done charging my car, and it's at a gas station. This one,
A what station?
a gas station.
Gas?
Gas station.
Gas station?
Is that a gas station, Steven? And so it's at a Royal Farms, and they have a supercharger. What's cool is when you go into your app in the car and you type in superchargers, it will show you a number of how many people are at those chargers, how many chargers are open right now. So it will say there's 2 chargers or 0 chargers or 8 chargers, so that you know if you're going to the supercharger area that there's actually open chargers.
That's cool.
It's really fast. So you go there and there's usually like 5-6 cars plugged in at one time, and it's pretty cool. But I went into the store to pee before I had to drive, and I come out and all I hear is Jared Polin Frono's photo coming from a car. One of the Teslas, the guy had his windows down, and he's like, I wanted to get your attention. I was like, man, how was I going to run into you? I never thought I'd run into you here, or I always thought I'd run into you in Philly, but oh man, that's so cool. You're awesome. You have a Tesla? No, you didn't say that. You have one too?
Oh, you got a Lambo too?
Yeah, man. But it was pretty cool that he played that, and then
So I assume if Royal Farms is now getting superchargers built in to their lots, is Wawa going to follow suit with their...
I think there's some places where Wawa does have superchargers. Now, I don't know if there's a fee added. I don't know if those people get some money for doing it. They probably should, but it makes sense that Wawas and gas stations transition to doing this.
They're going to park up, charge their car, walk in and buy something. That's the whole thing, you know? They have like
nibs.
For example, they have like the free air pumps where you can go and fill up your tires for free because they hope that people will then go inside and buy something. And yeah.
Hey, remember how I tell you how I hate assholes who fill up their car and then go into the place to do something? Do you know what Tesla does?
What?
If you finish the charge and you're not back within like a minute or 2 minutes, it starts charging you money for taking up the space.
Good.
They start charging you. So you have to unplug and then move your car, or at the very least unplug and free it up for someone else.
And hey, if you're inside wah for a minute or two, that's fine. But when they're in there for 10 minutes...
No, it's not, Steven. No. It's never okay to leave your car after you fill it up. Your car is filled. You put your thing back, you go in, you move your car. If you take too long, you're an asshole. Anyway, guys, welcome to RAWtalk episode number 33. I think last week I didn't tell you what episode it was. I actually got the number wrong.
Well, thankfully you didn't, because you got the number wrong.
I know, I actually got the number wrong because I forgot the Q&A was actually an episode. But this is episode number 33, where we talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about in the photo-related space. We're going to talk about a new extracurricular activity that I'm partaking in. We're going to talk about the Super Huge or Mega Camera giveaway contest. We're going to talk about YouTube and titles and something that happened on YouTube the other day that was very upsetting. We're going to talk about 2023, what we have ideas for, and then we'll probably talk about Adobe using your images without you knowing to train the AI.
Artificial intelligence, Judgment Day.
Yeah, I'm going to start with my extracurricular stuff. I decided...
Great.
What are you drinking out of, Steven?
It's my Avatar floating...
Is that a Hobbit mug?
No, it's Avatar.
That's Avatar?
Yeah, it's the floating hills, the floating mountains.
What is a floating mountain?
You never saw Avatar?
I saw Avatar, and
Every
I was
single
on the
mountain
ride.
is floating.
It is?
Yes. Remember they had to go to get to the dragons or whatever they were that they fly?
Is that how we flew on that ride in Disney?
Exactly. Yep.
So one of the best trips we ever did, as a side note, was the Nikon Z6 trip.
Yes.
Because Nikon has a deal with Disney, which allowed us to get access to parks early to do photo shoots that they were set up. Nikon did an unbelievable job with that Z6 trip.
They really did.
Not only did we stay at the Four Seasons in Orlando, they told us to order whatever we wanted for lunch at the bar or dinner or whatever and just charge it to the room. And we got some good lunches there, Steven.
Best of the best.
It was good. And we're not like these other YouTubers. They're not even YouTubers. We're not like these other
Can I have some
press
top
people.
shelf liquor? Give me the most expensive thing you got behind the bar.
I get so upset
Charge it to the room.
when there's people that
take advantage
of the fact that they're on a press trip, and it's like, look, we get it. You like liquor, but why are you ordering a $30 pour of whiskey when you could just get a regular drink and call it a day? They're not saying don't buy a beer, don't get alcohol if you want, but don't take advantage of it by ordering the most expensive thing. Or if you do, pay for it yourself.
Exactly, yep.
So anyway, we don't take advantage. Well, I did order an extra appetizer, I will tell you. I did order the caprese salad extra that I normally wouldn't have. We actually ordered the whole left side of the menu, followed by we didn't order that much, but we did order a little more. I will say we did get a little bit extra when it came to it. But anyway.
But speaking of the rides, though, we got to go behind the scenes pretty much in the back door entrance and cut to the front of the line for the most part.
Goofy was banging Minnie Mouse in the back of the...
we saw some things we probably shouldn't have seen.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, so Goofy is there, Minnie's there looking, and Goofy turns around. He's like, well, what are you looking at? Oh, I'm busy here with Minnie.
Wait, Jared, don't you mean Pluto? Not Goofy?
No, Pluto's the dog. Do you want me to tell that story again?
Please. Sure. Quickly.
Fine, I'll tell the story again. I went to Disney last year by myself on a trip, and I had a friend who met me there, and then she left after. She couldn't take the crowds, and she bailed and like left. So that was kind of a thing. I was like, okay, she's a friend of mine, and it was just like, okay, you're gonna bail because you can't be around. Anyway, nonetheless, I'm watching the Disney parade go by at wherever the hell I am. I hate Disney. Steven loves Disney, but the parade's going on, and I see this dog, and I'm like, Goofy! There's an Insta story of this. I'm like, Goofy, hey, I love you.
And meanwhile, I think you had a Goofy hat on, didn't you?
I bought a Goofy hat, but I wasn't wearing it. But he's waving his hands. He's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? And someone's like, that's Pluto. And I'm like, who the fuck's Pluto?
I DM'd you. I'm like, dude, that's totally Pluto and not Goofy. And you're like, who the frig is Pluto?
It turns out it's Mickey's dog. Yeah. But the only well, I didn't know this, but the only
Everybody knows that.
I probably knew at some point. But the only difference between Pluto and Goofy are pants.
There's literally no difference. They're both talking dogs. Actually, no, Pluto doesn't talk. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's actually like a dog.
Right, but he doesn't have pants.
He doesn't have pants, yes.
Goofy has pants.
Correct. He's like a walking dog.
But except for when we saw him backstage, his pants were around his ankles.
Do you think they were doing it doggy style?
Oh, that's funny, Steven. Now, stop being so vulgar. My dad is probably listening to this episode now.
Man.
He's probably going to call and be like, hey, what's going on? Steven.
Anyway, how did we get to this?
Oh, my phone just started to ring, and I thought it was my dad, but it was spam.
Oh, man.
We got off track because I was talking about... I don't remember
what
I was talking about. My extracurricular.
And then Z6, and then
I was saying that the Z6 was a great trip. That's how we ended up on Disney.
That's it.
I don't remember why were we talking about the Z6?
Well, that's what I'm saying. How did we get to the Z6 in the first place?
I don't know. People are probably like, why are you talking about this? Let's get to my extracurricular activities. How did we get to that, Steven?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Hashtag, how did you guys forget this stuff when you just talked about it? Anyway, extracurricular activity. I decided to take a painting class.
Yes.
I wanted to do it. I don't know why, but I wanted to sign up, but the class was full. And so they're like, you can sign up for February 20, the end of February. So like 2/20. And I was like, okay, I'll sign up for that. And then I decided, then I called them and they're like, yeah, no, the class is only 9 people. We already have 2 people on the waiting list. So it's probably not a good chance that you'll get in if someone drops out at this point. An hour before the class. An hour. This is 5:45.
Wow.
No, 5:30. No, it's 5:25 to be exact, Steven. And I get a call. They're like, hey, it's the Philly art or whatever the hell it's called. And they're like, yeah, you still interested in taking a painting class? Mind you, I'm sitting at La Colombe drinking my tea, and the class starts at 6:30. The problem in my head goes to, but I didn't plan dinner yet. I didn't eat. And the class goes till 9, Steven. So 6:30 to 9. That's a lot of... You're like, time without
my food. I gotta eat.
I was like, my food. And I'm like, what happened to the other people that you talked to? They couldn't attend. I'm like, so then I called them back and I'm like, I'll do it. I'm just like, all right, let's just go do it. No, I ate a RX bar before I went, and then I ended up going to sushi after on the way home. This week, I'm going to prepare where I'll go to sushi maybe before, have that, and get right on the L because it's right by the L. But I'll tell you some bullshit. Like, I'm talking to the guy on the phone. He's like, yeah. He's like, so you signed up for the other one, but this one's one more extra class, so it's a little more expensive. I'm going to need to take payment. I'm like, dude, I'll give it to you when I get there. I'm like, it's 5:45 right now. I got to go get the subway to get to there in time.
You called me an hour beforehand. Yeah, give me a break.
He's like, well, normally, I'm like, dude, I'm coming in.
This is not a normal circumstance.
I already paid. Like, just fucking deal with it. And then he's like, we're also going to need a copy of your Vax card. I'm like, you're still doing that?
Really?
I'm like, really? I'm like, whatever. So I emailed them the Vax
I don't think
card.
I've showed my Vax card in a year at this point.
Well, you have to understand, Stephen, these art people, I go in and they're all wearing masks. And then all the students coming in are wearing masks. Look, I'm not saying, like, if you want to be comfortable and all, I got vaxxed, whatever. I only did 2 of them. I didn't do the boosters or anything, but I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
I ended up getting COVID.
Well, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of, like, was it good to get it? Was it not good to get it? Because there's the conspiracy side where people are like, studies show that heart disease is now more rampant in younger people. And it's like, who knows? Everybody didn't know shit.
Hey,
whatever.
If everyone dies because of the vaccine, I'm hoping that I'm the one that dies too. I'm not the last one on Earth.
But then you could be like Will Smith.
I Am Legend, which, by the way, I think they're making a part 2, I heard.
Okay, all right. I got to go off topic now because you mentioned I Am Legend, Steven.
I love that movie.
I also liked AI, speaking of Will Smith. So what's he going to do? Is he going to do a metaverse
you mean
movie?
I Am Robot, right? Or
Yeah.
I, Robot.
No, iRobot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not I Am Legend, I, Robot.
Is he going to go and do a metaverse movie next?
I don't know. I will say I, Robot was ahead of its time. I thought that was
fantastic.
a great movie. And same with I Am Legend.
But I Am Legend despised the ending.
Well, the alternate ending, though.
The alternate ending, on the other hand,
was great.
Was amazing.
Yep.
If you've seen the movie but you didn't know about the alternate ending, go on YouTube and watch the full ending of the movie. It felt so much better. Well, it just made sense.
I don't want to give it away, but yeah, it's a happy ending or sad ending, basically.
Speaking of, I got to sign up for massages, and I hope they don't want to say anything about happy endings. I'm not there for a happy ending. I need to make a note because I need to schedule a massage.
Dude, there's a local spa place in my town, and they post on our town group page all the time, and it's like half-naked pictures of the masseuse. I mean,
shit, I almost did it, Steven. I almost did the voice of the masseuse. Would you like a rub and tug?
But it's like this woman is half naked in like a Santa suit. It's like, you gotta do happy endings there, I'm assuming. I mean, do you just walk in and ask? Do they recommend it? Like, how does that work? I've never done it, clearly.
Who's calling?
Oh, your dad's calling. Great.
My dad's calling. Hold on.
Here we go.
Hello?
Okay.
We're on the podcast recording.
Morning, podcasters.
What's going on? Do you want me to call you back?
I just wondered, did you bowl last night?
Did I bowl last night?
Let's have a full conversation.
We bowled. We won the first to get into the playoff round, and then we got fucking smoked by a team that carried so many pins it wasn't even funny.
Oh, that's no fun.
And they bowled above their average, and we bowled. I mean, I bowled a little better the last game. Didn't bowl good in the first game of the round. So whatever. Didn't matter. Whatever. You want me to call you back?
No, it's okay. I just wanted to see how it went last night. That's all.
Terrible.
Okay.
I only broke one bench.
Only one?
I only knocked it out of its fucking socket. I was pissed off. It snaps back together real easy. I know what to do. Yeah, so that's about it.
Okay. All right. Go back to your podcast and be civil.
All right.
Okay.
Bye. Anyway, that's my dad. He calls into the show. He wanted to see how I did at bowling, as you could tell.
Oh, you're doing a podcast? Let's have a full conversation.
Well, yeah, it's all right.
Do you want me to call you back? Nah, we'll have it now. We'll talk now.
I just wanted to see what was going on. Painting class, right?
I don't know. We were talking about happy endings and I Am Legend, and now back to painting class. This thing's all over the place.
The woman wearing the Santa suit, would you say she was American in origin?
No.
Or something else?
Definitely not.
Was she of descent... Of Asian descent?
Asia, yes, I would say yes.
Did you go and get a massage?
No, but they're constantly promoting this spa, which again, they're posting like half-naked pictures of this very good-looking Asian, and it's like, come on.
Did your friends tell you that they go for rub and tugs?
I did have a ex-coworker tell me that he would go like once a month, someplace in Philly, in Chinatown, actually.
Did you know that women in the 1800s... Did I say this story on the podcast already?
I don't know.
You don't know the story. That there used to be a thing called hysteria in the 1800s. And the cure for hysteria for women, because basically they stayed at home and they had nothing to do because women, were in the rightful place doing the raising the kids and cleaning the house and all that stuff.
Place, yeah.
It was a joke. I obviously don't agree with that.
Get back to the kitchen.
Well, you just think of American Beauty with the mother just sitting there all day with nothing to do, right?
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah.
they would get drunk, and anyway, so women would be diagnosed with hysteria. So the cure for hysteria was to be manually manipulated by the doctor on the doctor's table.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the guy's hand got tired, so he came up with the vibrator, and that's how the vibrator was invented. so that women could take it home and use it on themselves and give themselves hysteria treatment.
Sounds like a made-up story.
It's not. You can Google it. It's true.
Oh, I will.
It's true. It's Dr. Fellatio? No, what's his name? Hysteria Diagnosis Wiki. Female hysteria Wikipedia. Here it is. Early history. The history of hysteria can be tracked to ancient times. Oh my God, look at this picture. Water massage as a treatment. Literally right on her nanny hoo-hoo.
Nanny hoo-hoo.
19th century. Jean-Martin Charcuterie argued that hysteria derived from a neurological disorder and showed that it was more common in men than women. Anyway, let me look up history of the vibrator real fast. History of the vibrator. I want to see who invented the vibrator.
Glad we're staying on topic today.
Yeah, who invented the vibrator? Who invented... Did my dad just tell me to keep it civil? Yeah, Dr. Joseph Mortimer. That's him, Joseph Mortimer. Yeah, Maines is right about one thing. The electric vibrator was invented by a physician, the British doctor Joseph Mortimer. But when Dr. Ganville invented the vibrator in the early 1800s, it was not meant to be used on women to cure hysteria.
It was not meant to be
used?
It
was not, it says. But I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to my painting class. How do you
learn these things, by the way? Does this just like come up in conversation? Hey, by the way,
internet?
You want to know how the vibrator was made?
Well, it's not. A lot of it is like Insta stories because I don't go on TikTok. So occasionally you see these stories.
It's a story from TikTok.
Well, and then I do more research. Exactly. It comes to Instagram after it's already on TikTok. Then I do my research about it. So I did my research about painting class, and I went to painting class and... You know, they're all wearing masks, but you don't have to wear a mask. So I didn't wear a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. I've been traveling. I do all that shit.
So you had to show your Vax card, and then you had to decide if you wanted to wear a mask?
You could choose to wear a mask.
And everybody's wearing a mask except you, basically.
Not everybody. The teacher was wearing a mask, and I would say like 70% of the students felt like obligated. I could tell you they felt obligated.
Sure.
They walked in without masks on.
Well, when you see the teacher wearing a mask, you kind of feel like you should.
No. I don't feel like I should.
Well, you do whatever you want, but Steven, regular people.
Steven, we go out all day. We travel. We do things. We've encountered people with COVID at this point. Whatever.
We had COVID.
We did last January.
Yep.
Last December I had it.
For me, it was March, right before my wedding.
Painting, it helped you fit into your tux, too.
It did. I lost like 7 pounds. Yes.
I wanted to take painting class, so I went to painting class. I posted on my Instagram at Jared Polin. You can see the two I did a drawing because we started with pencils and we were supposed to work on shading. I get a little bored of that, so I decided you go see. I drew the whole room and I drew the other people across the way. And then we painted a separate painting, but I did it the same way. And I got done doing the shading of the little things. And all I kept saying in my head was, this is art. It's subjective. There's no right or wrong. So the teacher can't tell me I did anything wrong. So when she came over, I'm like, what do you think? You know, and she's just like, she's like, you chose to outline that thing that's white. Maybe think about painting an undercolor first, and then you could put white on top. I was like, okay, that's a good valid point. And so she didn't say that my thing was bad because I would have been like, it's subjective. Because I guarantee you I could sell my art. All this stuff that I do, someone will want to buy it.
Oh, 1,000%.
1,000%. For $1,000, I'll sell it. Yeah, so I have second class tonight. The people in the class were pretty cool. I liked it. I actually felt really good there. Like I looked at my painting while I was doing it. I'm like, I actually like this. I think it's good. I know it's not like the most perfect look in the world, but it's art.
Well, and you took it very literal, right? You actually painted like the room.
Well, so it started with she said, draw it as you see it. In perspective, in the right size. So I drew it exactly how it looked from my eyes. And I don't see very well. So it's much smaller in the frame. It's much smaller in the middle on this table. You can look at my pictures on Instagram. And so I drew that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to draw my art easel. Then I drew my art easel on the left-hand side. Then there was this guy, Orlando, in the background. So I started to draw Orlando.
Draw me like one of your French girls, Jared.
Yeah. I drew the person next to him. And then I also did the doorway and the doorway in the back that was dark. So we have the second art class tonight. I'm not sure what we're working on because I didn't take the syllabus home. She said take the syllabus home. I didn't.
Then you would know what you'd be working on.
Whatever. It's going to be a surprise, Steven. It doesn't matter.
I never looked at my syllabus in college, ever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what we're working on.
The professor would always be like, didn't you look at the syllabus? I'm like, no.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I'll be prepared this week, and I'll go paint.
Cool.
And I didn't wear the smock. Everybody else put on the smock.
Well,
I didn't put on the smock.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to protect your clothing, that's a good thing to have.
It didn't say I Shoot Raw, Steven, so I didn't wear the smock.
Yeah,
I did order my own.
Now you got to get an I Shoot Raw branded smock.
You know I would. I will, actually.
I guarantee you are. I'd be surprised if you didn't already order one.
First off, Steven, I have to order some more tight shirts for myself. I'm going to add, while it's being made, I'm going to get a smock.
Are you going to get it fully branded too?
Yeah, I'm going to put I Shoot Raw on the front of the fucking smock.
Sponsored by Alan's Camera. Sponsored by Jared Polin.
Oh, you mean like my bowling jersey? Like my bowling jersey?
Yeah.
How do you spell smock? S-M-O-C-K.
I think it's S-M-O-C-K, yeah.
Yeah. H&M makes one. I want to see if there's one in purple.
Is it smock or schmock?
No, it's smock. S-M-O-C-K.
Okay.
Look at this. I can buy a smock, a painter's smock for like $9.95, and then I can go get it paint. I can get it
painted?
Screen printed. Uncommon threads, purple customizable poly twill. But this one doesn't have any. It has some pockets. That's $7.59, Steven. Off topic, but we're gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to order a schmock for my painting class and then get it made.
You just said schmock.
I know. I always thought it was called a schmock.
I thought it was schmock too.
But it's spelled S-M-O-C-K.
Well, I thought it was pronounced schmock.
Smock.
Now it just sounds weird when you say it.
Smock.
Smock? Schmock.
Schmock?
Shmee.
Shmee.
What was that?
Shmee? Yeah, it's Hook. Great movie. So anyway, painting class is being done. I might put the stuff up for sale at the end and see who buys it. All proceeds will go towards
$30,000.
All proceeds go back towards me buying more cars that I don't already have. Okay, moving on to photo stuff. Let's talk about the contest winner real fast.
Yes.
A winner has been chosen, but a winner has not been contacted.
Ooh.
So you are still in the running if you haven't been contacted, because no one has been contacted.
Because I might have submitted.
No, but you're not allowed to. It says Stephen Eckert is not allowed to,
no, it
and
does
especially
not.
Dan. No, it's in there. I added it. Dan cannot win.
Especially Dan. Stephen might have a chance, but definitely not Dan.
He cannot win. So the reason it takes a little bit of time is I got to vet a bunch of different things to make sure that they're legitimate, to make sure that it just makes sense. Like, I hit a randomizer button and it picks the person.
Yep.
And then I have to look up, like, did they have fraudulent entries? Because there is a way. There are people that have fraudulent entries. You're like, how the hell did they enter like this? And you're like, how'd they enter from 63 different countries? You're yeah, that doesn't make sense. Because it will show you when you go onto the back end of the app, it shows you all of the potential fraudulent winners.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, they're not winners. Fraudulent entries.
Yeah.
It holds them off to the side, and then you can look at them. So I hit the random button, and it picks someone, and I have not contacted them yet because we've been really busy getting to the start of the year. So that's just... We'll get to that, and the winner will be announced most likely on a Photo News Fix, and then in a probably on the podcast, and maybe we'll do some other type of video if we do. Not sure. It's just better to do it on Photo News because more people watch Photo News than if we just did a regular shitty video. So what I will tell you is that the randomizer selected someone, and then when I looked up their name to see if they purchased the presets in the past, they had a while back. And what that means is that they score an extra $1,500 to spend at Alan's Camera. So instead of $34.99, they now get $4,999.99 of my money to spend because they got those extra bonus entries when doing it. Now, keep in mind, you didn't need to make a purchase, as I always say, to be chosen as the winner. Now, speaking of presets, if you haven't purchased a preset, you can any of the FroPacks, you can go to fronosphoto.com/FroPack3. You can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters. You can pick up FroPack 3, which is currently on sale. Steven's working on 4.
Yes.
When 4 comes out, 3 will no longer be $30, and
It'll go up
bundle
to 50,
goes up.
probably, right?
Yeah, whatever FroPack 2 went up to and whatever FroPack 1 went up to. Yeah, the normal price that we put it up to is $50.
Always like, it's always on sale, but yeah, it's on sale when that's the current FroPack. When the new FroPack comes out, it goes up to 50.
Yep, it really does.
It does.
You can go back
and
really
look.
Does. You
go
know
buy
what's funny?
FroPack 1 now, it's $50. FroPack 2, $50, not 30.
Did you see what Jordan Drake tweeted the other day?
Dude, I did.
You saw what Jordan Drake tweeted?
I did, and I knew you were gonna respond.
Well, someone sent it to me because I didn't follow him.
I was gonna reply and be like, triggered.
Well, someone sent it to me, and so for those who don't know, Jordan Drake works with DP Review TV. He and
him and Chris Nichols.
Drew Nichols, and he put up what?
Chris Nichols.
Oh, not Drew Nichols?
No.
I knew a guy named Drew Nichols who played guitar. So Jordan Drake on the Twitter said, "How much does DP Review TV love you? ? We'll never try to sell you a preset." I went ahead and tweeted back to them, "But I will." frontnusphoto.com/FroPack3. Check Skittles from FroPack 1, part of the triple play.
You're such a dick.
But from a business standpoint, to cut off your nose to spite your face, there's a reason you sell presets, and it's called, well, twofold.
It's called let me buy a bunch of cars.
One, it's money, and two, it actually does help people.
It really does. And again, I bust my ass to make sure these presets actually work.
Well, I sent you a message from someone recently who was like, I was hesitant to buy yours. Yep. I bought everybody else's. Then I bought yours. And then I was like,
and they
holy
actually worked.
Shit, all yours work on my photos, whereas just a select few of these others worked on mine. And I really think everybody else's sucks. That's the insane thing, is that more people come back to us to like, I've bought presets in the past and they've been terrible, and these actually work.
Because I don't think people that make presets, they actually test them out. I think they test them out on a select few of their own photos on a certain particular camera that they use, and they're not testing them out on different manufacturers, different cameras, older cameras, newer cameras, different RAW files, seeing what works, not having like a base preset. I think it looks good on their photo, on that one photo, and that's it. Where I try and make it look good on hundreds of photos and have a nice base preset so it works for a majority of people's photos.
Well, we have a folder that we constantly update that has roughly 2,000 raw images that date all the way back to a D2H and forward. So and it's Nikon, Canon, Sony, Fuji are the cameras that we can choose files from, and we go from there. But anyway, the contest winner will be situated soon, and we will announce that.
Nice.
YouTube. So
here we go.
We the vlog was finished and ready to go for Tuesday, was it?
Yes.
It was Monday, wasn't it?
It was Monday or Tuesday, I forget. But
today's Thursday. I don't remember which day it was going to be, but Dan finished the vlog. It had to be Monday.
This is the NASA Artemis vlog that we're talking about.
The NASA Artemis vlog, which is really good. Like, my vlogs have been really good, I will say, following me through the World Series, because it shows you they show you things that you don't see. Would I like to do them better? Are there ways that I can make it better? The answer is yes. There's ways, and maybe
I think the biggest thing for you is you just need to realize, like, there needs to be a beginning, middle, and end, where sometimes you kind of just cut off the end. That's the only hard part, is you get the beginning and middle, you get the chunk of the story, the context there, but then you kind of rip off the ending. So we need to get a little better at that. But besides that, I think it's always a great behind the scenes story of where you're photographing.
Well, I think part of it is it's the secondary thought in my mind to actually being there shooting the World Series, right? I'm not thinking so much after the fact. Like, before the game, I can create all this content, but then
when you're done, you're like, all right, my job's done. I'm finished. I'm going home. I get it.
But I could still do glue back here at the studio, which I watch, like that Casey would do that. He would jump in and update things, or just talk about it, like do voiceovers that are a little different. So I need to
What I don't like is when you're at your desk, when we cut back to your desk, because I feel like that really takes you out of the vlog. I think you should be vlogging in the studio or outside or something like that, so it still feels like it's a part of the vlog.
Well, you know what I think we should do, Steven? I think we should build a mini set. Kind of similar when we had the poker table back here, and I started to do those Q&A things, and I set it up different, so I was like closer to the camera and it felt more intimate. So I kind of used a wide angle but got closer.
But I think it should be intimate and informal, where you're just literally vlogging, like vlog style, like holding a camera up. I don't think it should be a dedicated set.
No, I get it, but maybe it's like a set that's just for this particular type of thing, that is the vlogging thing, like where I've got a laptop set up with like the app open with it in there, and then it's like, oh, by the way, or so I did this, and this, and just
because for me, it really takes me out of it. It's very jarring when all of a sudden you're back at the studio, and then we're back at the World Series, and then you're back at the studio, and it's like, wait, what is going on?
Unless you use that little mini set as the intro,
correct,
the middle, and the outro.
But when you intro it and you're already in the vlog, and then you randomly cut back to the studio, that's where it takes me out.
Yeah, I think I should probably get into the habit of starting it here.
That's
in a specific
different. Now,
place.
if you did it that way, that's fine.
Well, because the way that I envision vlog starting is the first 10 seconds is like a recap of the entire, like a fast forwarding of it. And then it cuts back to me being like, okay, so here's what I did.
Here's how it started. Yeah.
Right. Like, here's how it started. Now, let me take you out there to the World Series. And that way I don't have to rush. Like,
that could work, yeah.
Because you don't know how it's going to be. By the way, this is kind of like a production meeting, guys. This is like
pre-production.
How shit sounds. You just throw a bunch of stuff out there and then you come up with it. But that kind of makes more sense than me going out to the baseball field and then being like, okay, let me just start it here. Because
basically right now you're going out, you're kind of randomly starting and filming certain things, and it's kind of random B-roll for the most part. And then we try and figure it out after the fact here and try and glue it all together with, voiceover at the studio.
Dan does a good job of taking nothing and making it something.
Sure, but I still think we could do a much better job, though, if we actually had more of a beginning, middle, and end when you're vlogging.
So when I go to Paris, I can think of something like that.
Yep.
I could totally do that.
And you don't have to do it in order, too. I know you're very literal where it has to be beginning, middle, end in order, but it doesn't have to be that way. You could do it at the end. You can do it after the fact. When your last day, you can do an intro. It doesn't really matter. Nobody knows. That's the secret of editing.
I know, but I know.
You're like, but I already did the middle. I can't do the beginning now.
Yeah, I know. I can't lie. Yeah. I'm so bad at lying. So anyway, we had to come up with a title for this video, which means we also have to come up with a thumbnail.
Yep.
Now, we will sit here and type up titles. And I have the list right here that we started with. And so
this was a very tough one, too.
I'm going to read down the list, Steven. I'm going to read down the list. Starting at the top, we've got the impossible exposure. So the idea here is to come up with something that is clickable, that people will come and watch, but also kind of gives you, maybe doesn't give you everything about what it is, because sometimes you just can't name something what it is. People might not watch it, but you also don't want to get into the habit of being like
trying to clickbait every single title and annoying your audience. Yeah.
Right. But you want people to know that this is going to be a vlog, because we know that
once people some context, just a little bit of a hint in the title, but you don't want to give them everything, because then they just won't even click on it.
And the point is that we know that once people click, based off of our average watch time,
they stay.
That people stay.
But how do we get them to click is always the question.
Exactly. So we have the impossible exposure. Failure is not an option with the impossible exposure in parentheses. So literally we just write everything down that comes to mind.
We just brain dump.
Artemis 1 launch, the impossible exposure. It finally happened. It finally happened. The impossible exposure. I didn't fail. So it finally happened is referring to the fact that it was the third time.
Multiple trips. Yep.
All right. Then it keeps going. This photo cost me $6,272.53 to make.
Because you paid your way.
Which is actually not a bad idea. We should probably keep that in mind for the future. Mm-hmm. Like, this photo shoot cost me X, and I think people would watch. So this is also leading into another thing we'll discuss after we talk about this, is our future and how we want to figure this stuff out.
And before you move on, the other thing is, too, we have to keep in mind, sometimes when we make these titles after the fact, it's a little confusing to the audience because you don't exactly say why this photo costs $6,000 whatever dollars. I think we need to make sure we say in the vlog somewhere that, hey, you paid your way. That's why this photo cost X amount and blah, blah, blah. I think it's that's why people will be like, oh, well, that's clickbait. How did this cost $6,000? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's where I can do back at my little vlog setup that we make at the studio, be like, all right, flight cost me X, bing, travel, bing, hotel, bing, right? And then it just like cha-ching adds up.
And what we're going to work on in the future, in the new year, this year, is instead of making the titles up after the fact, we're going to try and make the titles before the fact, before the video's even created, a little more pre-production.
Or just come up with a list of really cool titles and then frame a video around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have an example that you wrote up yesterday, or do we not want to give it away right now?
I mean, I have several examples, but I don't know if you want to...
What was the one we did about the camera? Oh, well, we were looking up what Manny Ortiz was doing.
Correct.
Because we look at what other people are doing. And Manny was doing a good job the last couple months, getting a lot of views off of stuff because...
He did one called, for example, My Favorite Camera of All Time. I think that's a great title and a very clicky title.
And so we're like, okay, save that, Steven, because I can do something about my favorite camera of all time. That's a really good title, which led me down the rabbit hole of trying to find my original D3S. Mm-hmm. I found the email, Steven.
Did you?
I did.
Wow.
I did. I reached out to the person.
Okay, cool.
And I was, so in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be great. We're going to have this great caper where I have to search up my serial number of my camera and find where the camera is in the world. Well, it's still with the person I sold it to.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Well, I forgot who I sold it to, but I went back to emails from 2012 and found it and emailed. I'm like, did I sell you this camera? The person's like, you did.
The question is, do they still have it?
He still has it.
Ooh, all right.
And now I've got to make a deal. Do you know what the deal is I thought of?
What?
Instead of, because he's like, I still shoot with it on occasion. I'm like, you want a Z6? I got a Z6. I bought one, right?
You do, yeah.
I was like, I'll just trade you the Z6 for that.
Back to the titles. Trade. What else do we got?
Fine, back to the titles. It finally happened. So a bunch of these also have, so if I didn't fail or it finally happened, but this time I have, it finally happened in all caps.
Yeah, like we did like different variations of these titles.
It's insane. So here we go.
Keep in mind, me and you were brain dumping for close to an hour, I would say, trying to figure out a title.
Right, and I was pissed off at this point. That's why I started to come up with stupid stuff.
Yep.
But the crazy thing is, the more you do it, the more it leads to something else. So then we've got
just takes a while.
How to photograph a NASA rocket launch, Artemis 1. That's saying exactly what it
more
is.
Tutorial style.
How I photographed the NASA Artemis 1 launch. A behind-the-scenes look at my photo of the NASA Artemis 1 launch. NASA Artemis 1 launch, the impossible exposure. The impossible exposure, NASA's Artemis 1 launch. Failure is not an option. How I photographed NASA's Artemis 1 launch. How I got the impossible exposure for the NASA Artemis 1 launch. The final countdown. 5,
I like
4,
that one.
3,
the final
2,
countdown.
1, blast off.
Well,
Goodbye,
without the 5,
rocket.
4, 3, 2, 1 part.
Right. Well, that was the second line. Goodbye, rocket. Failure was not an option, the impossible exposure. The impossible exposure, this was hard. It finally happened. Was it worth it? Failure is not an option. Was it worth it? And then, was it worth it on its own? I would have failed without these photographers.
When
I got to that point, I was like, oh shit. And then it was like, I needed help from these photographers or I would have failed. I would have failed without the help of these photographers. And then we came up with, these photographers saved me.
Correct.
And then it was like, these photographers saved me or else I would have failed. And then from here is where we were like, I actually like that these photographers saved me because the whole vlog is about these photographers at the launch sharing their settings.
Yep, picking their brain, seeing what they're going to shoot at setting-wise, and then you're realizing like, oh, I would have shot at a completely different setting. I'm glad I asked. You saved me.
Exactly.
It's very literal.
If it wasn't for them, I would have failed. It is true. And so we thought, wow. And then then you have to come up with a thumbnail. So I'm like, I'll cut out these 4 guys, put them on the left-hand side, and I put me on the right-hand side looking all dejected. And that's what we did.
And it's a lot different than our normal titles because usually it's all about you. But this time we kind of made it more about like other photographers. So we kind of took a little bit of a gamble and we were hoping it would pay off, but let's talk about that.
So then what actually happened, we upload the video, we go live with that title, and then
it gets 0 views.
Well, it didn't get 0 views, but it was doing far worse than the last 10 videos. And so YouTube on the back end has a thing called YouTube Studio, which shows you your real-time analytics so that you know that if a video is doing poorly right off the bat, you might be able to save it by changing the title or the thumbnail. Those are the only things you can really work on. And so
they actually recommend that too. When it's doing poorly, they recommend switching a title or a thumbnail.
Your video is not getting as many views as it normally does.
It's 50%
Maybe consider
fewer views.
changing the titles.
Yep.
And it's like, shut up, YouTube. You're giving me mental issues.
Yeah.
And so, but it wasn't doing like the worst ever. So we've had it in the past where there was an issue and I like deleted the video because I thought it was my fault.
And keep in mind, when it is a 10 out of 10 video, literally performing the worst out of the last 10 videos, usually we have a sense going into it that this is not going to do well, this is going to perform poorly because it's more of a sponsored video or like a printing video or a critique or something where we know it won't usually get many views. But this
that's
time
like
we
a user guide.
Thought it would. Yeah, a user guide, for example. It won't get many views off the bat, but a year down the road, it's going to have 500,000 views. So anyway, we thought this one would at least have maybe a 5 out of 10 video, like a decent amount of views, but it wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, I thought that title was good. So the whole point was, Steven and I were talking before the video went up. I'm like, this is a good test to see like what we should be doing in the future for the year and what direction. Like, this kind of makes sense. We think this is a good title that people will click on because they'll see the photographers. When it says these photographers saved me, you're going to want to know who are the photographers and how did they save me? And unfortunately, right at around that hour that we posted, YouTube had some sort of major glitch. And during that glitch, no views were counted, at least to show us. YouTube says that they're still counted on the back end and that they will end up getting back. But the problem is, if a video is perceived as not getting views, the algorithm shuts it down and doesn't share it to other people.
Yep. It won't be showing up in recommended feeds, any of that.
And when you start changing titles, that might signal to YouTube that there's an issue, that your title, like if you change it more than once or twice. And so we were left not knowing what was going on because I looked it up. There was no issues with YouTube. I went to the different Twitter that I thought I was supposed to use. There was nothing. There's no notification on the back end of YouTube going, by the way, maybe don't post right now, or there's a known issue going on with videos. No. But then they tried to hide that. And it's frustrating. I'll tell you right now, Steven, on the back end of YouTube, there's a big triangle with an exclamation point in it right now with a red bar going across that says action required. Accept new terms to stay in the YouTube Partner Program and start earning Shorts ad revenue. So they could do it. They can notify you. This is a new notification. I have to do this to accept, I have to re-accept into the YouTube Partner Program again because they made changes where they're going to start monetizing Shorts, which is a whole nother discussion, by the way. We think Shorts are the biggest waste of time.
Yeah.
Even though some channels can really grow vanity-wise, they can get a shit ton of views and they can get a shit ton of subscribers, but they can never transition into long-form content if all they've built off of is people who just swipe and swipe and swipe. Anyway, so now we have no idea whether our video was going to do well or not because
we ended up changing the title several times after.
I changed the title, I changed the thumbnail, but there was no way to know
that there was an issue on the back end.
Now, I think the numbers, I think they're now there.
I don't know, though. I don't know if they're accurate, though, because, for example, we looked at Graham Stephan's channel, and usually he has, 100, 200,000 views per video in a day or two, and his is still stuck at around 50, 60,000 views, and he just put out a video today, and it already surpassed that in half a day. So I don't think, if the problem is fixed, I don't think it's really accurate.
But now we're basically dead at 24,000 views.
Yep.
And ad revenue is only $95.99. So it costs you money because the way that I think that maybe if the video was up the day before and you missed those views in the middle, that's fine because the video already got into the algorithm. It already got sent out and everything. But when the original views aren't getting counted, that tells YouTube that you're sucks. And so my brain went to, so I actually didn't get that upset, but it did piss me off.
Do you want me to read the text message thread between me and you? Because you seemed a little upset.
No, I was upset more at the fact I couldn't figure out why, right?
And this is what always happens when there isn't an explanation. When it fails this hard, it's always an issue on YouTube. Now, it's rare. It only happened, 3 times maybe in the past couple years
ago is when it happened. Mm-hmm. But it's so here on the back end of YouTube, fewer viewers from YouTube recommendations. This video got 12,755 views from recommendations. YouTube home and up next videos on your channel typically receives 21,000 to 29,000 in this time frame. Lower click-through rate from regular viewers. That's because no one saw the video because it got killed by YouTube. I can't delete it then and put it back up. It's just we got to live with it.
Yeah. And keep in mind, when we didn't know about this issue until later that night. I mean, 5 or 6 hours passed.
I figured it out.
And then
I figured it out.
If you look back on the back end, it completely flatlined the first few hours, saying that it had literally 0 views, and then it ticked back up maybe 6 hours later. So we knew it wasn't counting views those first few hours, even though it was in real time.
It was. No, so here's what happened. Before bed, I took a look, and it said 2,000, right around 2,000 views.
Even though it had more earlier in the day.
Even though it had 4,000 plus earlier.
Correct.
I'm like, well, then clearly this is a YouTube issue.
Yeah.
And that's just a bullshit thing that YouTube doesn't notify people in the studio. Part of the reason they might not want to notify people is because if people stop uploading videos,
correct,
then they're not making ad revenue.
Yep.
And they're not thinking about us. And I also said this to a friend of mine. Actually, he said to me, he's like, could you imagine I posted my first video and my whole future
flops.
is determined on whether or not I will continue to make YouTube videos and pursue it. And then the first video fails so bad and I don't know why. He's like, I would have quit.
I mean, granted, most first videos you probably have 20 views. You know, I can't see a first video popping like crazy.
No, but it actually has more views because it was a good topic. It was a good review. But he was just making the point that if he didn't know any better, he might have given up right off the rip. And my whole thing is, I'm mentally stable, thankfully, knock on wood. But I could I could imagine someone who posted a video around that time who might be having concerns and questions about what they want to do with their life.
Sure.
And their YouTube channel, they might feel is failing. And then they put up a video and it's saying 10 out of 10. And it's like 2,000 views when they normally get 20 or 30. And they're questioning everything. It could lead to someone doing something bad.
We started questioning everything when we saw the video was flopping that hard.
Right. Because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I? Dan spent 4 or 5 days editing this vlog. You know, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort only to have it fail. And you're like, well, what did I do wrong?
And imagine, I mean, yeah, this is a vlog. It's not the most important video, but what if it was the most important video that we spent months on and it failed super hard and got next to nothing in terms of views?
The last couple of vlogs we did, like the first World Series vlog has 115,000 because I named it Canon, Nikon, Canon or Sony. And then the next one didn't do as well, but it still has 80,000 views. Like, to get 50, 60, 70, 80,000, 100,000 views on a vlog is great.
The question always is, do we just name it what it is? Because it is a very interesting, unique vlog. You're literally behind the scenes of a rocket launch. Not many people can do that. Do we just call it what it is? Or do we have to clickbait it? It's always so hard to say which one to go with, because I do think to a certain extent, you know, calling it what it is will work, but it's also a 26-minute video and people can't really stop in their tracks and watch it right then and there. It's always hard to say, man. It's tough.
Yeah. But even with that said, people watch the whole time. The average watch time is 40.3%.
Oh, again,
so 10 minutes and 22 seconds.
When people start watching, they will watch it. But how do you get them to watch it right then and there? How do you get them that initial click to watch it? That's always the rub. We don't have a problem with people sticking around. The watch time's always great, which is a good thing. But it's hard to get them to watch.
Yeah. And so
especially when everything's based on that first 30-minute limit that YouTube gives you the real-time analytics, and they say if it's performing well or poorly. It's always hard to say with a long-form video, because how many people have 30 minutes out of their day that they can quickly stop and watch right then and there?
We've gotten good at just letting videos breathe and leaving them.
Yeah,
because
it's a scary game to play mentally.
Well, for example, the Segway video that I made during the pandemic, where I did 3 scooters, did like 12,000 or something views in the first day, which is horrible.
And 18,000 in the first week.
I think it did 26,000. But
no, I checked. It was 18,000.
It did. It was only 18,000 the first week. Well, now it's 320,000.
And that was actually, I believe, the first video we filmed once the pandemic started. Like the first video back. It was like
you met
6
me in a
months
parking
after
lot.
We met in a parking lot outside. I filmed a good amount of B-roll. It took a minute to put that video together because it was a 3 Segway comparison. And I remember you being really annoyed, and I thought it was dead. I really did. I was not surprised. It's a Segway scooter video on a photography channel, but
we named it what it was.
300-something thousand views. Well, that's because search. It's like a lens review. We just call it what it is. This is a blah, blah, blah lens review. This is a blah, blah, blah camera review. People are searching for that stuff.
And so the mental health aspect of this thing is insane.
Yep.
Because YouTube is a mental drain. Being a creator is a mental... You have to...
Stresses me out like crazy, man. It really does.
You have to be pretty mentally strong to roll with the punches. You win some and you lose some, but you hate when your issue is a YouTube issue and you didn't know that, and it causes you... It would have been better if we didn't post the video and waited a day, and which is what would have happened if they told us.
And remember how we were so excited too when we actually figured out that title after brain dumping for nearly an hour.
These photographers
this is gonna be great.
Me.
Finally.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, well, that's true. That's what happened in the video. These photographers saved me.
Yeah.
And then people stay for the Artemis launch.
Yep.
Anyway, YouTube is one of these things, and speaking of mental whatever. I was out testing a lens with my niece and nephew at a park. So I was taking two kids to a park. They're twins, which is okay because I'm their uncle, so I can go to a park. I also made sure not to photograph other people this time around because I just wanted to photograph them. So my niece, I guess she was given like this knockoff GoPro, which is Polaroid, to take pictures and to take video, and she's out in the park running around filming people going, do you want to be in my YouTube video?
Wow.
And like one kid was like not interested at first until she was like, it's for my YouTube video, and he's like, it's for YouTube?
Whoa.
And he's like, okay. But she was
YouTube
going around.
is the new TV for kids. It's like us back in the day. We're gonna be on TV. Whoa.
Yep. She was going around saying to my nephew, do something crazy. We're not getting enough likes right now. And she said that. And so he's hanging over the edge of the jungle gym, hanging on to, he's like, this is extreme. He's like, yeah. She's like, do something else because we're not getting enough likes. And then she turns the camera around. Don't forget to subscribe and like everybody.
Oh, man.
She's 8. They just turned 8. And then I see her off to the side talking to the camera as if she's on camera talking to the viewers at home. And so I said to my brother, I'm like, I don't know what to do in this situation.
Yeah.
One, they know that I make YouTube video. I think they know because they've seen some of my videos, but I don't think they know. Like, I don't think they would associate their uncle, just me, Jared, as someone who has a million, has a Tesla in the garage and a Porsche and a Lamborghini and a right, but I don't think they would associate me with the success that they see on YouTube.
Yeah,
and so that was the crazy thing. And I'm saying to my brother, I'm like, well, I don't want to tell her not to do this, but what I need to do is educate her, like drop subtle hints. And so when she was going around filming nonstop, I said, Jules, I'm like, keep in mind that when you shoot all this footage, you have to edit it. So the more footage you have, the harder it is to edit. So keep that in mind, that you want to start and stop, and then you do another take. And then also, if you're going to make videos, don't try to make videos based off of what you think people want to see and will make them like it. Make stuff that you're interested in and do a good job with it, and people will end up liking it.
There you go.
And so I don't want to tell them no, because this is the world they live in. And if she's practicing being on camera, that might be a thing that she pursues.
Telling you, man, YouTubers are the new celebrities when it comes to children. They really are.
Yeah. Do you know who I am?
You're a YouTuber? What? Every time I tell my nieces and nephews, they're like, what? That's what you do?
I told you should take the gold play button home.
I don't even think they would even understand what that is, though.
When you tell them that this means I have 1 million subscribers.
But I don't even know if they pay attention to subscriber number, though. If they can even understand what that even means,
Yeah.
They just randomly click on videos that are colorful and...
Yeah, that's true. So we went ahead and analyzed our videos from 2022. And by analyze, we look at the analytics and just see what did well.
Yep.
And we know what does well. This is the thing. We know that if it's gear related, it's going to do well.
Especially if it's topical gear, like new previews, comparisons, lens reviews that are brand new, leaks and news stories when it comes to new cameras, stuff like that. 1 year later reviews, user guides.
User guides over time, because we look back a couple years.
And comparisons too. Comparisons at least get a little bit of a bump right away.
Comparisons...
But
yes.
In the long run, you get 500,000 to 1 million views on that video a couple years later. So,
and that's long term. And those are videos where sometimes
it's all
YouTube
evergreen
is like,
content.
Well, and YouTube's like, these videos are not performing as well.
And it's like, you gotta live with it. You just gotta realize, like, I'm not going to change the title. This is meant for evergreen content. Long burn down the road, we'll get the views. That's because
and things like the user guide. There's the EOS RP user guide, has like 600,000 views. It did 200,000 last year.
And that's alone. The thing I think we should work on more is more the budget friendly stuff, more of the cheapo lenses that we don't give a shit about, but a lot of people will that are on a budget. Stuff to really get you into photography and to understand that yes, you can move forward. You can still climb the ladder with this lens, but this is where you should start.
And we got to work on titles before we go and make the video so we can gear it towards that.
And we found out that user guides that are bringing in, the beginners that really never picked up a camera or just bought their first camera, they bring in the most subscribers as well, which again, all of this we already knew. It's just how do we now grow from there and make even more newer content for current subscribers, like for the, for like the advanced enthusiast, the one that already knows everything about their camera. How do we keep them around and keep them engaged? This is what I always like about RAWtalk. I feel like it's more for that core audience that has been around for a while. They already know photography. They don't really need to learn more about it. They do like the new gear stuff, but this is kind of keeping them in the fold, and you get a behind the scenes look of what Frono's Photo is doing.
I mean, the ultimate goal is, of course, more views, because more views means more people listening to our plugs, which means if you get more views, then exponentially you would think that would correspond to selling more product. And that's the point. We want to do that. That helps us continue to do what we do and buy more Porsches.
And we know what doesn't work, which usually is like critiques, but at the same time, I do
sometimes they get 40,000 views.
I still think they're very valuable for again, that new subscriber that has never seen what Lightroom looks like, or how to cull down a photo shoot, or how to even simply just edit a basic photo. I think things like that, again, it's not going to get 1 million views, but it's still important for that beginner.
You know what? I mean, I would be okay if those videos, if I could name them what they are and call, like anything that I call a critique, no one watches. If I clickbait it a little bit, people will watch it and they'll watch all the way through, but I don't want to do that. I would love to just train the viewing public to be like, this is a critique, and if it gets 40,000 views, that'd be great. 40 or 50,000 views is a lot.
The other hard part, again, it always comes back to me, the length of the video. Critiques tend to be 20, even 30 minutes sometimes, so they are even some of them are like an hour, aren't they?
Some of the old long form stuff has been that way, but I think we'll transition longer form like that into a user guide that I sell.
And when we were looking up all the analytics, I wanted to see how many videos we actually posted in 2022. And in total, we posted 131 videos, which comes out to be, 2 to 3 videos a week, roughly.
Which is less than we used to do, but we also find that we got to let certain videos breathe to continue to gain views before YouTube kills their reach.
And quality over quantity is my big thing.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the Adobe story.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, well, remember a couple weeks ago, I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Adobe is learning every time we click on something to cut it out. Every time we outline a subject, a background, the eyeballs, and if it sent some data back. Now, I don't think they're actually sending any data back, though I wouldn't be upset if they would send some data back.
It's only if it's on Adobe's servers, that's when they actually collect your data.
But what we found out is a bunch of months ago, they changed their terms of services and they automatically opted people into a thing that says if you sync your stuff across Adobe, or if it's on Adobe's servers, then they can use those images to train the AI and machine learning. And the only way to get out of it is you go in and you have to turn it off in the settings. But how can you do that? How can you just opt everybody in and then not tell anybody, and then you have to figure out how to opt out after the fact? It's bullshit.
So here's what they specifically say on their website when you click the Learn More tab. Adobe may analyze your Creative Cloud or Document Cloud content to provide product features and improve and develop our products and services. Creative Cloud and Document Cloud content include but aren't limited to image, audio, video, text, or document files and associated data. Adobe performs content analysis only on content processed or stored on Adobe servers. We don't analyze content processed or stored locally on your device. So they're not storing data that, if you're editing in Lightroom Classic or your Photoshop or dick pics in Photoshop, anything that's locally stored on your hard drive, they're not actually accessing that. They're only accessing if you're in Lightroom, for example, the mobile app or the desktop app, not Classic. If you're syncing to their servers or something like that, that's when they can analyze your data. I noticed that if you do opt out, the only thing that it doesn't include is Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock, they say, content submitted by contributors to Adobe Stock may be used for machine learning no matter what, even if you opt out.
And I ultimately do not have an issue with Adobe learning.
Me too.
From cutting things out, because do you know how long it used to be to use how long it took to use the pen tool, where you would have to put the dots around the subject, then you had to bend the pen tool around, then you had to select it, and then you hit the wrong button and you lost your selection and you couldn't get it back. Now that we just literally hover over my head and it does it, even with my hair. So I'm fine with it.
And something they specifically said, speaking of like the pen tool or something like content aware, they say machine learning enabled features like the pen tool are also used to make context aware suggestions. This content aware suggestion can become more relevant to your work when Adobe XD, I guess they're AI, learns from your specific usage and content. For example, content aware fill in Photoshop also analyzes your image and predicts the correct content to insert in a selected area. So it's just training the algorithm to be better and better.
So maybe it is doing what I said that I thought it was should be doing, analyzing every time we highlight or cut something out and sending information back about how well it did.
Again, it doesn't do anything on your locally stored apps or data. But they say now if you are in a beta version of Photoshop, for example, any of their beta versions, that they can then access and upload, I guess, and learn from.
Yeah, because you have to opt into that, the beta, which I'm part of the beta program as well. Yeah, I don't, like I said, particularly have an issue with this. I have an issue with the fact that they turned on the option without letting you know.
That is annoying, yes.
That you have to turn it off if you want to turn it off, but you have to actually know about it. So do you have the process right there for how to turn it off?
I don't have it actually in front of me, no, but
I'll say it. There's a Petapixel. Well, there's a Petapixel article at the bottom of it. It says click here. You click there and it launches your Adobe on the website and you log in, and then there's the button to click to turn it off if you want to turn it off.
What's annoying though is they should have it, in my opinion, in their Creative Cloud Manager locally on your desktop. You should be able to access that, go into preferences, and then turn it off instead of actually going onto their website trying to find it there, which is pretty much buried unless you have a direct link, and then turning it off. So they try and trick you basically.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a little shady the way they're doing it. All in all, I don't care, but it was what I figured they were doing. And the whole Adobe stock thing is we kind of figured it was doing that anyway. What I tell you about Getty Images, there's no doubt in my mind that Getty Images has already used all of that to train the AI, because they're like, okay, well, see, here's how Getty could use it. Football helmet, right? You could type in a keyword, and then they train the AI to find everything that is a football helmet.
Better object recognition at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if it can help you become more efficient and creative at the end of the day with certain tools. Again, I've always said, if it helps you become a better photographer with your editing and, helps your tools advance, then that's where I think AI will really, where you can really benefit from using something like AI. But when it's making it art on its own and photographs on its own, that's when it gets a little scary.
Right. So AI is going to continue to play a part, and there's good, there's bad, but all in all, for the Adobe thing, shady as fuck what they did, but not that big of a deal in my book anyway. So, yeah. Long episode because Steven went off the rails and talking about so many other things that he shouldn't be talking about. And my dad called. That's Steven's fault too.
Yeah, all my fault.
So many
always.
things. So many things. But yeah, this is episode 33. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We hope you check out all the other episodes that if you haven't checked out podcasts. And we thank you guys very much for listening, because we've been able to build the numbers up over the last 33 weeks. And it's nice. We enjoy doing this. We're trying to figure out the future. I say this all the time with the direction of content that we want to do for the YouTube channel.
Always evolving, yeah.
It is evolving, and there is a time we want to. There's always things that we want to do, and so we have to work our way there. But we got to try and we're trying to figure some things out. We always are trying to figure things out, because I got to figure some things out. Like, I don't want to be 70 years old making
YouTube
Frono's photo content. I'm not saying that I would stop making content. I just want to evolve. And I think after 13 years, I've adapted pretty well and evolved pretty well. But there are some things that I want to create that are different, but YouTube can still evolve and change with us.
Yep.
So, anything else, Steven?
No, the only thing I ask is, if you guys do really enjoy this type of content, this type of free content, if you could review it and rate it, over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever you listen on, whether you like it or you don't like it, if you can give us a review, that would be great.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. And that's it. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.
I say bye first. Last. Everything. Goodbye.